welcome back to the stream of spiritual consciousness that is named after starseeds and soul fractals. My name, on the other hand, is Alvia, and I use he, him pronouns. As you can tell, I am sipping on this cup of coffee, which I have a bit of an on-off relationship with. And what that has to do with today's video is that we're talking about spiritual addictions. As you can tell, if you have looked at my content at all, I do post and produce and create and transmit different activations and healings. I have provided channeled as well as intuitively interpreted different predictions. So I will also discuss this from that perspective. I have done all of this, and I have also faced, clientele and audience where this reliance on certain types of guidance has been almost very clingy, and it has almost had these people give their power away. And there is nothing to be judged there, but there is something to speak about there, because we are all in our power. On this planet, we have a free will, and so that's something that you should know in the beginning. When we go deeper into this discussion, I did want to make sure that I stated that there's no judgment or this like scolding or shaming and blaming towards those that may be dealing with a little bit of an addiction. So like I said, I have a bit of an on-off relationship with caffeine, coffee especially. I do enjoy the taste, that's the thing for me. And it is often those things that we enjoy and make us feel good that we are very much drawn to. And so I feel like that's something that can already tell you that as just the spiritual beings in a human experience, we will be drawn to those things that make us feel good. But another thing is, how do we maintain it? How do we integrate and incorporate that, good feeling into our lives? That is where sometimes we might have challenges. And I've also, seen examples of these situations where highly spiritual human beings, they find that bliss, they find that beautiful feeling, they find those gorgeous states of being, but soon after that they crash and they go so hard down. The reason why they go so hard down is because that is where they were before that bliss occurred, and so therefore they hadn't established a smooth, balanced state of being. And to give you an idea for where I'm at, I am currently at fairly content and happy sort of. If we just talk about my most consistent emotions or my most consistent, experiences and states of being, this is kind of a state where I do have to push myself a little bit in order to, again, evolve. That's kind of where I'm at. But I feel consistently, yes, very balanced, very chill. Yeah, I feel happy. Now, happy is not always the same as bliss. It's not also always the same as, joy or excitement. Those are they are even slightly above where I am at my most, consistent basis. But I'm very balanced, which is wonderful. I was actually at that state for quite a while. There are still times when I'm having crappy emotions. And the difference here is the way I deal with those things and the way I deal with crappy experiences. Because now I no longer dip down so hard. And whenever I experience those very high vibrational states, I do appreciate them. I love them. But the difference for when I come back, I don't mourn their sort of loss or that they would sort of temporarily go away from me. So that's the difference. How do you treat something when it's gone or when it's kind of dialed down? Because if you then just go back to this very low, let's just say low frequency, or if you go into a low emotional state, for example, which again, emotions are not the only, they're not the only energies that exist. But how do you treat that state? and how much sort of, like, here's the thing, there is a reason why so many spiritual teachings so far have emphasized being happy and content where you are right now and being grateful for what you have, because it serves that purpose of being aware that yes, there is still potential to have more and to create and cultivate more, and doing that while you are centered where you are at, while you are, grateful and, okay with where you are at, and you're not struggling with that situation. You're not sending your present, past, or future, or any timeless space or state. You're not sending the universe these signals that you're suffering. You're sending the universe signals that, hey, all is well, actually. And I noticed that usually when we think about things this way, there will always, almost always, be somebody saying, if I'm saying all is well, that is not true. What we have to do in that state is to deal with why we feel that all is not well. We're gonna have to face our problems. There is not a quick fix to the deeper work and the base work of your own wellness. Like, sure, we can do all of these healings and whatever, we can go into that process, but that is also a process. So I'm speaking to those who maybe are addicted to the feel good feelings, and they are sort of trying to cope with something that they are not facing, and that is the core issue. Like, if you do feel like you are lying when you're saying that all is well, then you're gonna have to face it. You're gonna have to face the truth about your situation. Do that first. But if you can, in fact, understand that, okay, maybe in this situation I am challenged with things, maybe I am having an experience that I don't want, but I can change it. And here are all the things that are good, that I am very happy with in my situation, because there will be those. Find the clues, find the proof that there is also another kind of experience, and also find the ways to create a better experience. Like I was talking in the beginning, some of us tend to go into that sort of reaching for the next high, if that makes sense. And there are different healing processes, of course, that we have to go through in order to again really face the truth. That is one of the keys here, and we can in fact get addicted to these different healing sessions and activations and stuff like that. But I also want to kind of remind everyone that addiction on some kind of a level is also based on maybe giving a little bit power to that substance, and in this case the substance is a service, basically, or a prediction or something like that. And so therefore we are sort of giving our power away to that, and we're just looking for the next hit, the next hit, the next hit, the next hit, right? And we get like really agitated when we don't have that hit, which shows us on some kind of a level there's a lack of trust in the self and our sovereignty. Because if we actually were trustful and sovereign within ourselves, we would not need that hit every single time. We would not need it at like a certain time, or let's say every Saturday. We would not need that. Therefore, I find that we need to also understand where we actually can, create our realities. Yeah, we are looking for those feel-good signals when we are waiting for the next hit. And the same thing kind of comes with these predictions. It's just waiting for the next thing, and just wanting that energy update, where we're also almost kind of like, ooh, what's next? But we sort of lose ourselves in looking for the next thing, unsatisfied with where we are at right now, or what we can create from the now. And so I find that, the sort of solution to this type of a situation is to approach it as only as something that you can add to your life, but not like a necessity to your survival in this paradigm or the new paradigm or whatever next level paradigm you are going into. Just treat it as something that can only support you, but not something that is going to define your future, or something that is going to define the state that you are in right now. Even when it comes to meditation, what is meditation if it's constantly just reaching for something? What is meditation if you cannot sit still because you're expecting a certain result? Zero expectations can actually be really helpful. Like, you would be surprised how helpful that can actually be. It's a very neutral state of beingness. You're very open. It's like the Fool card. You're very open to new experiences, open to, brand new beginnings, open to everything. It's the 0 point. It's an open portal to those higher realities. And it's also an open portal to anything, really. And so when you go through that portal of the 0, you're gonna find yourself somewhere. But if you have no expectations, you're ready to call in whatever is the most suitable for you. And you're willing to kind of see where things go. You're not gonna clutch into that outcome. You're not gonna cling. And that's another thing, like I mentioned in the beginning, this clinginess to that prediction, this clinginess to that guidance, this clinginess to that activation, transmission, healing, whatever. This clinginess is what's gonna drive that thing further away from us. And I understand that there are reasons why people feel this way, why they feel they need to, grab into something so hard. That insecurity, that fear. There's a lot of sort of states of being and emotions and experiences that come with that. But that clinginess, why does it drive the other way? Is because they will feel trapped. They will feel like they will be stuck. They will not like the feeling of being held in such a tight grip. I mean, even if you held someone's hand and you squeezed it so hard, they would feel hurt, right? So energetically, that feels much of the same. The way we allow for ourselves to move on from that, to let go, and to liberate, is by understanding that whatever we are appreciating in that service is already within us on some kind of a level. And there's many times this has happened where this is like just if you need proof, this is what I would say. I might watch a prediction that is meant for the following week. And a lot of the things that come up in that prediction, I've already been dealing with. And so therefore, we're already seeing I'm already on that timeline on some kind of a level. Or it just happens that, that was already within me. It's just coming out from another person's mouth. So that's just one thing. And the same deal with all of these abilities. We can actually train and practice them so that we can do it ourselves. I've been dealing with a psychic burnout. It's kind of slowly getting better, but sometimes I still do deal with it, And there's also like certain other problems that I've been having. I had a little bit of an empathy exhaustion because I was dealing with some human beings who really drained my empathy, like my human empathy, like the sort of tendency to really empathize. And I do still feel empathy towards people, but there were certain situations where, and this was fairly recently, the last quarter of 2022, so there were certain situations where I was maybe being a little bit too empathic with certain people, and I was just dealing with very challenging fellow human beings, and so therefore that also contributed into this psychic burnout. And then the other thing was this, clingy human beings in the audience who projected certain things onto me, and who wanted a certain kind of service that they were not gonna get. And that has really changed how I will put myself out there in the future. The reason why I was talking about this psychic burnout is this then means on some kind of a level, if I want guidance on certain things, it will have to, sometimes it's gonna have to be through other people's readings. Always just pulling my own cards, right? Because sometimes I've noticed it's also got like a lot harder for me to do that, to predict and interpret readings for myself. So it's like I feel like I just need a lot of help for that, right? But I can still channel and do channeled energy work. It's just that that also takes integration time. Now the good thing is, whenever I edit my own videos, I usually get like, that's like a really good way for me to engage with my own energy. And so that's just kind of my personal share about, dealing with psychic burnout. And in those cases, yes, we do need, we might need that help from other people in order to, just deal with things and in order to kind of move on and stuff like that. So I do understand that also. Do understand that, we might sometimes need service from other people. But the power is still in you. You're not giving your power away when you do that. You just understand that, okay, this is kind of like how you treat a psychic problem in the same way that, for example, when we go to the dentist, we are treating a dental problem. So when you're dealing with a psychic problem, you go to a psychic, right? so that's how I would approach that. But if we start to become like overly reliant, or if we start to project some resource into that person that we feel we're not capable of experiencing within ourselves, we project it out there, we externalize it. That's when we do get a little bit dependent on the other. We start to sort of develop that addiction. And information addiction is a thing also, in this sphere. We might get overwhelmed. Actually, I have a video about the mental spirituality that will be up probably by the time that this one goes out. But yeah, the information addiction is another one. What's this thing? What's that thing? Like this constant need of mental stimulation. We're constantly just learning the next new thing. And it's the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And where does all of that get integrated? Which is the main way that we actually grow on the spiritual path. Integration. We do need to integrate every single reading, every single healing, every single activation, all of that, in order to, raise the bar. Getting back to that idea of, okay, we have this bar of our most consistent energetic vibration, whatever that means, whatever, things. You can talk about experience, you can talk about feelings, your most usual feelings and thoughts, your most usual encounters among other humans, for example, and those type of things, bodily sensations, whatever. But we can raise that bar, and depending on a person, it can be slow or it can be fast. And depending on a person, what is slow and what is fast may vary. so keep that in mind, of course. Remember that. And the key to raising that bar is to, first of all, keep on problem solving, keep on, again, doing that deeper inner work, whichever it may be for you, and challenge yourselves every now and then, okay? Although I would like to say, though, that at certain points of the process, challenging yourselves may feel very hard. But the challenge doesn't have to be a negative thing, and it doesn't have to be like a big thing, okay? It can be very small. For example, if I took the example of my coffee thing, I could challenge myself to have just 1 cup less every day. Or I could challenge myself to maybe half a cup or something. Or I could challenge myself to have caffeine-free days. And yeah, that's just one way that I could do that. Or if I wanted to get into better shape, I could challenge myself to take 2 walks a day instead of 1. Or I could challenge myself to maybe do 1 push-up every morning or something. That's just something that can be helpful. That's a little bit of a personal development side of this. But that is in fact one way that we also grow on the spiritual path, right? Even though our soul is not limited by our personality, but it's rather using the personality as a vehicle, and it's aligning the personality more towards the soul. it's kind of a symbiosis, really. The personal development can also act as a support tool for our spiritual consciousness. And usually we do need to learn how to grow just as human beings when we are on the spiritual path. So there is this sort of holism, if that makes sense. So as I was talking about raising that bar again, is to also, when you do have those low moments, whatever that means for you. I could take another very practical, mundane example. A low moment of, financial things. Maybe you spend a little bit more than you were planning to. Like your budget for the shopping trip was $100 and you spend $150. How do you treat yourself when you do that? How do you treat yourself when you kind of slip up? Do you judge and scold and shame and blame yourself? Or do you self-compassionately, self-lovingly say to yourself, I slipped up. Maybe I do not feel good about slipping up. But that doesn't mean that I'm a completely worthless person. That doesn't mean that I'm a failure. That doesn't mean that everything's completely lost. That just means that I made a mistake and I can fix this mistake by maybe cutting my budget on something else. I can fix this mistake by cutting from maybe next trip's budget. I can fix this by making more money. There are solutions. And therefore, as you can see, it does not have to be such a painful process if you do go into like a bit of a dip, or if you do sort of maybe backslide, if you do go into a situation that is lower than something that you previously dealt with. There is a difference between, letting your feelings arise, feeling them, then just letting them flow through, because that's all they're really meant to do. And you can also kind of think about, different situations in a similar way. So in this financial example, you think of it as, okay, this was just a temporary slip up. This does not mean that I have completely failed, and I can also bounce right back up. You can figure out how this will work for me better. Whenever those sort of lower moments arise, just remember that they are temporary, and it's important to be present in them. Okay? You can't run away from the truth. That's what I'm gonna repeat here. Like, you cannot run away from those things. You're going to have to face them, clear them, remove them, and then continue your path strongly. In a strong and centered manner. Whenever that condition of whatever lower state that you were in is fully cleared, you might find yourself at a bit of a higher note. Or you might find yourself at like a neutral space. Or like I said, I felt this very balanced state for quite a while now. So you might be slowly starting to get into a new experience. And you might start to slowly notice that whenever you clear, the more and more you clear of these lower extremes, or even just lower dips, whenever you start to clear them, and whenever you start to face them in this very calm, sometimes even stoic, stoic ways can work for this, but like in this very calm and self-compassionate way, in this very self-loving way, very graceful way, the whole process of raising the bar becomes so much easier. The bar will only raise higher and higher and higher. And at that point, even when you start to feel those very high vibrational, bliss states, for example, it will feel a lot more reachable, and the dip from that is not gonna be that much. It's gonna be like, That's when you notice that you made some actual process. Like you actually change something about your experience on this planet, right? And you don't need to reach for that high anymore. It's like, it can come if it wants to. Like, to be honest, I'm quite happy where I'm at. maybe there are some things that I would like more of, that would really add to my experience, that would really create some outcomes that I want in my life. And you can start to think about creating those, but it won't feel like this urgent push. It doesn't feel like such a struggle or such a, a pain or a push or a rush or this like, I want this now. It won't be feeling that way. It will feel like something that's very reachable. It will feel like something that's very possible. It will feel like something that will just flow into being. It will come into being so effortlessly. It's like it's already there. You can almost feel it in your energy field already. It almost feels like a given, but you're not taking it for granted because you're also understanding that, hey, all things are temporary, also that thing might be temporary, and I'm not attached to it. So non-attachment is another thing that plays into these type of experiences as well. That's just some of my wisdom in regards to, dealing with spiritual addictions. It does come from attachment, it does come from, scarcity, it does come from not dealing with our problems accordingly. It does come from maybe even avoiding the truth, maybe even, avoidance in general. And it does come from giving our power away. There's just so many things that spiritual addictions come from. I feel that it is indeed a topic that, is not always that well discussed in the community. I have actually seen a video that discusses the codependency in the New Age, which I might want to link because it is related. It shows where, again, people are giving their power away and they're sort of depending, on light servers to give them that boost of energy and to give them those light codes and just give me, they just be like that. They just be doing that, and I don't want to judge that because there is a deeper problem there. I just want to talk about it, right? It's not judging. I want to talk about it. I want to help people to get over that and to create their best lives, become their favorite self. I like the word favorite self. And of course, technically on a philosophical level, that also implies if you are your favorite self, then there's no room for that which is not your favorite. But I believe, with understanding that yes, there is sort of light and shadow elements, especially in this human experience, I do feel like maybe even our favorite selves might not have the best days, right? That doesn't mean that that's not your favorite self. There was a lot of information that I wanted to put here, and I hope this helped you out. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a great day. Make sure to subscribe if this gave you something to chew on. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.